Yo, what's going on, everybody? For today's show, we have a special guest. It's Sean Manning, and he is the co founder of the American Carp Society. So, I hope you guys have some questions, and he'll have some answers for you. Let's jump right into it. Hey, Sean, how's it going?
Hey, Josh. Good, brother. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. Doing well. I know we was talking a little fishing before we came in here. So,
Yeah.
um,
With the weather and whatnot.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, Sean, why don't you tell us a little bit about the American Carp Society? I mean, for somebody that, let's go with the novice or somebody that has no clue that doesn't even know it exists.
Yeah.
Is there anything you'd like to tell them about it?
Well, first of all, I appreciate you having us on here
Oh,
this
no
evening.
problem.
Yeah, not being originally from the United States, coming over from Europe, obviously um, they're a very sought after sports fish over there,
Yeah.
and because of that, England is a small place with a lot of anglers. So,
Yeah.
lakes are usually packed full of people and that type of thing. When we came over here to the United States, Wayne Boone, my partner, and myself, we were living in California. We were out there, both involved in the music industry at the time. And we discovered carp out there. We didn't even know that they existed over in the United States, and
Okay.
couldn't believe that people here didn't fish for them. We'd turn on the TV shows on Saturday morning and see all these bass rockets out there, skimming across the water, catching these puny little little fish.
Yeah.
And we were like, this
Yeah.
is insane. You got these bloody great fish in front of you. So
Yeah.
we started something to help promote the fish as a sport fish. And then, of course, we learned of the history of carp here, that they weren't exactly loved. So we realized that we had a great deal of work on our hands. But if there's one thing that I like as a challenge, and that that was it.
Yeah. That's definitely a challenge to change
Yeah,
people's minds for
yeah.
sure.
And when you fish as a youngster, you have no bias. You fish. You want the biggest thing in there. It's what you might catch. It's the anticipation of what you might catch. And as we were discussing before, you said, had I gone fishing? I was like, I've gone on a session and I caught the biggest catfish in my life I'd ever caught. Was I hoping it was a carp? Yeah, but was I disappointed when I saw it? No, not at all.
Oh,
Yeah, it's about
yeah.
the size of the fish in the fight. So, and they're
Oh,
they're
yeah.
incredible. Great resource for everybody here in America.
Yeah, for sure. Pull some other questions up here for you. I mean, so what was kind of the driving force behind it to make it happen? Then did you carp fish when you were over in the
Oh
UK as
yeah,
well, or?
yeah. Wayne and I both were avid fishermen in England, and it was something that we used to do to get together over here and to kind of relax from our everyday lives, and finding them out here in the States, and also finding that they weren't loved, b, they weren't really fished for.
Yeah,
It was really a an understanding of what the anglers here in America were missing. I mean, the anglers here in the USA had an incredible sport fish right in their backyards, and they weren't taking advantage of that to be able
yeah,
to get that pleasure out of the species because of either a bias or not knowing that they were even there. So it was, for all the young anglers out there that aren't even anglers yet, those young kids, the opportunity to catch something like that, will change everything for them. So it was like the right thing to do. It's the way that we saw it.
yeah, for sure. And
Yeah.
I think we kind of talked about this the other day. The American Carp Society, you guys kind of do some things to kind of prevent bow fishing and stuff like that too, don't you? Didn't you say you had some lakes protected from
Yeah,
it?
we've been able to get a few lakes protected and that type of thing. Especially it's really important, especially for the trophy fish that get really, really large. Some of them are going to have superior genes, and losing them, it doesn't allow any other anglers to enjoy them,
Yeah,
without catch and release. So we've been fortunate enough to have some lakes protected for anglers, and I think as the sport grows, that will be a lot more commonplace. There's a number of people that feel the same way, as we do about it. And so we're going to continue to do all that we can to protect trophy size carp and special lakes that contain them, and do what we do, so other people can enjoy.
I believe I saw on your website that you guys offer like guided trips, or you can set people up with different guides.
Well, we don't actually offer them ourselves. What happened, Josh, was we started to get a lot of inquiries from people overseas that were wanting to come over to the United States to fish for carp. And because it's so large and so overwhelming, the first people that they ask is us. So we started to we were getting regular inquiries from individuals wanting to get into carp angling. And we didn't, we're not in the guiding business. It's not what we do. So we thought, well, we need to put some reputable guides together so that we can at least refer these individuals that are asking us these questions to to guides that will help them. Because the last thing you want to do if you're on the other side of the world is spend a bunch of money to travel across the world, be faced with what we call a lake, which could be a couple of thousand acres. I mean, they're not used to that in most places, especially in England. A lake over there is maybe 6-10 acres at the most. Okay. And it's quite overwhelming for them. So the last thing you want to do is come all the way over here, not know how to approach it, and waste that opportunity. So we started to put together guides across the United States, fly anglers and Euro anglers. So when somebody has an inquiry, we just refer them to the guide. The guide handles all of the business and stuff, and that way we're providing a service.
Yeah, for sure. What are some of the benefits of becoming a member of the American Carp Society?
Well, we have now two memberships. We have a fly membership and we have what we call a Euro traditional membership. There are events that happen throughout the year. There are member-specific merchandise that we have, as well as the annual packet that they get, which is basically we release a new bait each year, just one new bait a year, which we take about a year to work on before we release it. And our members get access to that before the public does. There are, in regards to the conversation we were having earlier on, there are protected places for the members to discuss the fish that they love without the fear of, let's say, boat fishermen, finding out their spots and that type of thing. We have members maps with information across the USA of waters that members, they're well known in their area, but they share those lakes with other members, let's say, that are traveling across state or something of that nature. And it's just a big community. It's a growing community. We support the members. The members are incredible. We couldn't do any of this without the members. And it's about bringing like-minded individuals together in a place where they feel that there is a community. There are benefits for them to be able to do it, because our whole philosophy is the fish. The fish is the star. It's not the angler. Yeah. It's the fish. And so as we're trying to get that message out there through photography, social media, and that type of thing, we're seeing a lot of other anglers that feel the same way that are joining as membership. And we're obviously happy to have them support us and support the fish.
Yeah. And I noticed you guys also have like a podcast that happens over there. It looks like maybe once every week, or
we do once every 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Okay. I do the podcast once every 2 weeks, and we have guests on from all over the country. We'll have members on. We have, obviously we have non-members on as well. So anything that will create a good listening conversation regarding the subject. I had a buddy of mine who does a podcast on a completely different subject. And he said, what do you talk about? Just after you've talked about bait, what do you talk about? And I said, there's a whole bunch of stuff, that you can talk about.
I could talk carp all day long.
And you can use it, you can use the podcast. We use it as also as an outlet for education too. Yeah. And we've been very fortunate that the podcast is starting to get recognized. A lot of people listen to it and they share it with their friends. So it's great, if you're on the drive home from work or something like that. It's not, you don't have to visually look at it. It's not a video, cast like this. It's just an audio, like you listen to the radio or something. But it's an awful lot of fun. I learn an awful lot from it, from doing these interviews with anglers, especially the fly anglers. I've learned a ton from the fly anglers just through doing the podcast with them.
Yeah.
About fly fishing for carp specifically, which I've never done, and didn't know an awful lot about. I don't know an awful lot about it now, but I know a lot more now than I did a year ago. Thanks to the guests.
Yeah, like we were talking earlier as well. I mean, I couldn't imagine the fun it would be to catch a carp, fly fishing. That would be a blast. I mean,
well, we've got some guys, some members that are and I have to say, those fly anglers have done so much for the profile of the fish over the past few years. That the photography and the videos and stuff that they shoot is incredible, and some of the video that we get from members, I mean, you just see them, peeling off that line when they're catching them on the fly. And there's different parts of the United States where, believe it or not, they will chase down, they'll chase down a fly like a bait fish down in, believe it or not, in Chicago. There's a place called Beaver Island in Chicago. And the water is gin clear there. It's like if you go to Google and you pull up Beaver Island, Chicago, it looks just like the Bahamas. And there's carp guys that go down there, and they're literally pulling flies in with video of carp chasing them like a shark chasing a bait fish.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's incredible. So we're going to get some film of that this year,
for sure.
to share it with the members. So. Yeah.
Ben Thompson was saying that the swag alone that you guys get is worth the membership fee. He said you guys are doing great things in the USA.
Oh, thanks, Ben. Appreciate that, brother. We
must be a member. So
we try to give as much back as we possibly can. And I think, last year, actually, when we started the new membership, it was $29 for the year, and every single year you get new swag. So this year we have specific what we call American Carp products, which is American Carp Society products, hooks, pop-up buoyant corn. You get your members beanie. There's a bunch of stickers that you get. There's a ton of stuff in there, and you also get before anybody else does, you get the new bait sample. So before it's even available to the public, in fact, the baits, we'll be releasing it the end of this week, beginning of next week. Our members have had samples of that since June, July last year.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yo, what's up, Jake? How you doing, brother? So the baits that you're talking about, are they pretty much boilies and pop-ups, or?
Well, we have a bait range that was started a few years ago. So dear friend and incredible angler, Eric Mayberry, I was fishing a session with him, and it was actually the session where the fish Barnaby was caught, because the bait range is called the Barnaby's Revenge bait range. And there's a long story about that. There's some history about it on a film that we did. And what happened was Eric came down, and he had some boilies in a brown paper bag, which he gave to me. He said, "Here, try these." And every bait I've ever had, I'll eat it. I'll taste it first before I put it on a hook, because I can just tell from the taste of it if it's sour, if it's sweet, that type of thing. And what happened was I'd eaten 5 or 6. I was talking to Eric, having a conversation with him, and he'd arrived at this session about 2:00 in the morning. So it was dark, and I was helping him get his kayak off the back of a truck and stuff like that. And I'd gone through about 5 of these boilies before I'd even realized that I'd eaten them, because they were so good. They were so good. And I said, "What?" So we started talking, and we bonded over bait and some English TV series and that type of thing. And that's actually the bait flavor that he caught Barnaby on, which was a 47-pound carp, which is, I think, the largest. To our understanding, it was the largest caught and released line caught carp here in Texas. Possibly something bigger, but that really started everything. And it was the understanding too that we needed a good bait here in the United States. It was built here in the United States, made in the United States. It was really high quality, because there's a lot of bait that you can buy, and because of the fact that it has to be mass manufactured, there's only so much stuff, really good stuff, that they can kind of put in it, if that makes sense. So ours is all hand done. It's done in limited quantities. Like I said, we do one flavor a year, which is researched and field tested across the United States from anglers in wild waters where a carp has never seen a bait before. And we have a number of things in the range: bottom baits, pop-up sprays, glugs, that type of thing. And it's stuff that we all use as anglers. We all use it ourselves. We wouldn't use, I'd never buy anything after, actually really getting involved in the science of it with Eric and the bait making side of it. There's an awful lot that goes into it that the anglers are completely unaware of. They just open the packet and go, "Oh, this is good. This smells good." I use it. There's been a lot of fun.
I like the fact that you said you were tasting some of it. I've tasted a lot of baits. So.
I'd eaten 5 of them before I was conscious. It was just like I hadn't even put together that they were boilies. And I was eating. They were so good, which is actually our Mandala Gold flavor that we're just about to release. It was so good, and there was so much substance in them.
John said that he's heard of. He knows Barnaby's Revenge is what he said. So he must know about the fish.
That's the name of the fish. The Barnaby was the fish. And Barnaby's Revenge. If you look at actually you can see it here. Okay, so this is Barnaby.
Okay.
Now, if you look, you'll see he's holding a spear.
Yeah.
With a human head on it.
Oh no.
Okay. So as opposed to the bow hunters, right? This is Barnaby's Revenge. This is the fish with the human head on a spear.
So John might be a member too. Then I'm not sure.
That's where the
Ben was
wordplay. That's where the wordplay comes in.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Cool.
I love it.
Yeah, kind of
cool. And I know we were, you were kind of talking about, your members and stuff. It looked like you guys have had some success in some tournaments and things like that as well.
Yeah. We have a long history of it. We hosted the first ever World Carp Championship in the United States back in 2005. I think it was 2005. I may have got that wrong. It's been, getting older and I forget stuff. But that made the front page of the Wall Street Journal. That was an incredible event. Every carp angler in the world that was, let's say, famous at the time was here at that event. It was insane. It was absolutely insane. It made the front page of the Wall Street Journal. And it was a big, massive party for, a week, basically, and with a lot of preparation, a lot of work that had to go into it to pull it off. You got miles and miles and miles of river that is 2 miles. The St. Lawrence River is miles across in some places. You've got currents and to deal. There was a ton of stuff, but we managed to pull it off. And Tim Paisley and Steve Briggs ended up winning the tournament. They flew over from the UK. They ended up winning it. There was a bunch of American teams that placed really well. I think second, third, that type of thing, or fourth or something like that. But it was just really great to get anglers all over the world come to the USA and expose the USA to them for the first time. Really, it was wonderful.
It looked like that was a pretty good prize pool too, as well, from what I was reading on it.
It was a massive prize pool. And then after that, we did the Texas Carp Challenge a couple of years later, and Al Sincere won that for a $250,000 win. Because
I think I saw that as well.
Yeah, because he actually broke the Texas state record at that point. He's a wonderful angler, wonderful guy. He fishes for catfish pretty much all the time now. Massive great blue cats and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So we did that, and then we had regional tournaments, and now we do our Mill Creek tournament in Camden each year, which is basically it's a lake that is now it's a bowfish free lake.
Yeah.
It's about, I forget how many acres it is. It's a nice, decent sized lake, but it's very raw and unspoiled, surrounded by trees, reeds, and lilies. Doesn't have a massive head of fish in there. It's not an easy lake to fish at all, but there is some beautiful fish in there.
Yeah.
To upper 30s. There's a 40 in there, but they don't give themselves up easily. There's it's a challenge. Let's put it that way.
Gotcha. Yeah. And I noticed by looking at your site that looks like you guys interact with your members a lot. Saw a bunch of write-ups, from different members and things like that. I really enjoyed reading that kind of stuff.
Mm.
Um,
Well, we do. We have a private group that you won't, that the public won't be able to see, but there's interactions go on that every day. Every 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, we have new members that drop by. If you're a new member joining something like this, it can be quite overwhelming if you're just getting into it, because some of the most experienced anglers, some of the best carp anglers in the USA are members, obviously, and they're there helping new members, new guys coming in that have never done it before, helping them and encouraging them and coaching them where they need it. And So we get as much. We get a lot of interaction with the members all the time.
Yeah, like I said, I really like the fact that on kind of your, I don't know, it was the front page or one of those pages, there was kind of like some some different write-ups from members. I saw one from Jake from Top Tactic Fishing.
Mm-hmm.
Just all kinds of stuff like that. And I'm sure people are a part of something. They enjoy writing stuff and getting it out there for other people to see.
Well, what we try to, I say to everybody, and it's been our whole philosophy, is the American Carp Society is the blank page that you want it to be for you as a carp angler. So if you're a carp angler, and you like to write, then there's an outlet for you. We have a monthly online newsletter, The Angler's Insider. We have our annual print publication that has won awards overseas. We have blogs, and so there's the YouTube channel, there's film and photography and that type of thing. So we're always encouraging members to use it as their creative outlet, because it's not like you're going to write an article and get it in Fisherman. They're going to publish it next month or something. That nature. So there's a lot of outlet for creativity, and the members are always, surprising us with their creativity and their support. So
we've got somebody in the chat that says they're a member, and it says they're from South Africa.
Mm-hmm.
It says that they were really happy they joined and made some friends when they moved to America. And all that.
Yeah, we have
awesome.
There's a father and son. I believe they're in Texas at Fish Mill Creek, and wonderful guys. Actually, they're in the Mill Creek video that we put out in the film on YouTube. And we have members overseas. We've got members in Italy. We've got members in the UK. We've got members in the Cayman Islands that are American Carp Society members, because they love what we're doing and they're supportive of it. What we're trying to achieve over here with the anglers. And it's great to be able to take, because look, we're all from different backgrounds. We all have different thought processes and that type of thing. But the thing that I, notice when we do the Mill Creek event, and just as Wayne and our entire team, we have an incredible team. Clayton Lothrop, who handles he handles all of the membership stuff. He handles all of the store inventory and everything. Kelsey, who handles all the PR for us. We have Evan, who's a biologist that we kind of have on staff, and obviously Wayne. My partner Wayne in this too. We have Wayne, bless him. He has been traveling. I don't know how many miles that guy has put in across the country, literally just fishing.
Yeah.
He has traveled so many miles doing that, meeting members, getting out there and meeting members face to face when I wasn't able to do it. It's been a lot of fun trying to bring everybody together.
Yeah, for sure. James Lesser, I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name. He said that he has found out that the ACS doesn't jump down the throats of new members as much as the CAG group does. he said you guys are a lot better on the mentoring side.
Well, coaching and mentoring has been a part of my life outside of fishing anyway. So it's one of our goals to bring that into what we do, because if new members, at some point in time, none of us knew how to hold a carp, none of us knew how to handle them correctly, none of us knew how to catch them, and we all had somebody help us, whether it be, for some of us, we were lucky enough to have our parents, our dads that taught us how to do it, but a lot of people don't. So you have to educate, and you have to help and coach people up. And then if they're smart, they'll and you can tell they're really smart ones because they're listening, they're always asking questions, and they want to learn. And you'll find too that the members, especially the more experienced ones, they will help and encourage. And if somebody comes in initially and they're holding the fish in a way that is not conducive of the fish's health, we'll say, hey, you may want to try this. These are the kind of guidelines that we have, and it's not for our benefit. It's for the benefit of the fish. And until you're taught, you don't know any different.
Yeah, exactly. I think I've been fishing for carp. I'm turning 40 this year, so
you're a whippersnapper.
Yeah. So for probably about 27 years or longer, I've been fishing for them. And really, I don't know exactly when I started using a carp cradle and landing mats and things like that. It was unheard of around here. Nobody did that. And before the internet, really, you wouldn't, you just catch fish and, unhook them and slide them back in the water.
I think what happens, Josh, to us as anglers, when we get to that place where you realize that the fish is the most important thing, like the moment for me is when you release it, especially if you've caught like a prize fish, you got something, a 40-pound fish or something like that. I remember being down in Austin catching it was actually David Moore, Wayne, and myself when we were down in Austin. We were filming down there, and I remember catching the first 40 of the two and reviving it, because it was a hell of a battle reviving. And I was literally standing up to my waist in water, gin clear water, and I had this 40-pound fish down, in the water. I was cradling it between my legs, kind of looking up at me. I'm here, the fish is here. I'm looking down at the fish, and the fish is looking up at me. And it's at that moment when there's a connection, and that they're really, really special, and they're really wise, and they get to be that big. They can't be that stupid. They've lived a long time. And that's when you start really putting the benefit of the welfare of the fish, and you start really that's when you start really thinking about it and the pleasure that it gives you. So you can then take care of it. So another angler can try to put his wits against them, get frustrated like we all do trying to catch.
Yeah, exactly. We don't really have any 40-pounders around here other than the one that I know was caught not long ago. It was like 50 pounds. But, I've caught, several Indiana 30s, and some of my favorite fish, though, are just the smaller ones with the beautiful colors.
It's not about the size, man. It's not.
And it's like, I don't want their scales to get all tore up. And, I've caught some cool mirrors and some really cool, like, I don't know, hybrid mirrors and hybrid goldfish and koi, that are, and all that stuff. And it's like, why would you want them to get beat up? You know what I mean?
Well, and that's the thing too. I think another thing with the photography and the fish care, because what we're trying to achieve, we're trying to achieve bringing that fish to another level of perception to the public.
Yeah.
Now, because you've got social media and everybody's posting stuff all the time, right?
Yeah.
You have an opportunity to take some care with how the fish is presented, so that somebody goes, yeah, there's no way you could call that a trash fish just because of how it's presented. Literally. Some of the photography that you see, some of our members, and some of the anglers, across the world, with some of the photography skills are just outstanding. And that alone is a piece of art, in itself. So that's why we always have water. We clean them off with water before we take pictures, and take away any beer cans or anything from the background, to present them in a way that will maybe help,
For sure. Ben, I'm from Indiana. Nick, thanks for coming in, brother. Appreciate you. John was saying that the ethics in carping are very critical with the care and everything. The catch and release, which I agree with. And like, I guess I'm different though. Like, I believe in taking care of everything. You know what I mean? It's like hunting. If you hunt and you're going to eat it, that's cool. But if I don't believe in harming anything for no reason. You know what I mean? There's no reason to harm something without cause. Just that's how I look at things.
I don't think any real hunter does that either, to be honest with you. I mean, knowing I was raised in the UK in the countryside, shooting pheasant, clay pigeons, pheasant, rabbits, and everything, and we'd take them home and we'd eat them. Not the clay pigeons, the real ones. But I think there's a circle, there's a life cycle, and there's a circle. And the original Native American Indians, would be before they would kill, and before they would eat it, they would say a prayer over it. And so there's waste in any way, shape, or form is really not, there's really no benefit to it at all.
Not even just with carp. I mean, I don't know how many times I'll fish somewhere and I'll stumble across where somebody's caught some nice bluegill or crappie or even a bass and just like threw it on the bank and just let it die for no reason. And it just,
man, that's the reason. The reason
drives me crazy.
Yeah. If you got to feed your family, then take it home and cook it up and feed your family, but to
for sure.
Just to have a wanton disregard for life. I got no time for that,
Yeah, me either. I'm right there with you, brother. Right there with you. Let's see here. Ben says he's over by Greenwood. NM, I'm assuming that's New Mexico. That's Doc. He said he's been carp fishing in New Mexico for over 45 years, and he's never seen another carp angler. So
that's one of the benefits that we have over here, as anglers. You could go to a water and not see another carp angler there for a year. And what an incredible opportunity that is for the anglers over here now. Amazing.
Yeah. And Doc, watch out, because I used to never run into carp anglers, and they're getting a lot more popular, brother. They really are. I've run into a lot of them here lately. And you said you guys have a YouTube channel, correct?
We do, yeah.
Is it just called American Carp Society?
Carp Society. We have videos. We release videos. There's a new video actually coming out this next week on the trip that we did last October. Clayton, Wayne, and myself, where we were field testing the bait in the brand new water, never seen it before, and we spent, I think it was about 5 days that we spent, and like with any true what you call let's say food source for a fish, because you can pick up bites with what we call smaller fish, on virtually anything. Like a pay laker does. It's called a pickup, isn't it? They have have the puff or whatever. So piece of plastic. But to get them to where you're training them to come and eat and eat and eat and eat and eat, it has to be something of some nutritional value to them. And it took about 12 hours for these fish to get on the bait, and then once they were on it, that was it.
My particular style of carp fishing, I was raised pay laking, okay, and I've used a lot of different baits. I've used hair rigs, boilies, tiger nuts. I've used everything, and the one thing that I almost exclusively use is a plastic bead on a curved shank #2 hook with some good pack bait around it.
Yeah, and
I've caught so many fish. Sometimes I do comparisons just for fun, and it seems like if you're in the right spot, if like in Indiana, we can have 3 rods. So if me and my son go, we have 6 rods out total, and it seems like if you're in the right spot, no matter what you throw in that spot, you will catch fish. It seems like you might have 4 rods that never get a hit, and then
Mhm.
the other 2 rods are just nonstop. You know.
Well, there's a few things I think that an angler needs to take into consideration when they're factoring in, let's say, bait or location. Okay. So in a wild water where the fish have free reign for what we call naturals, right? And if there's a lot of naturals, then you have to have something pretty significant to take their attention away from that, right? Let's say the fish they're eating on a bunch of snails or a bloodworm bed or something
Yeah.
like that. You got to have something pretty specific, and that will take their attention away from that and have them just focus on your bait. Now, one of the things that you said, because I've never fished a pay lake before, I've seen pictures of them, and we've got actually quite a bit of history on our site about pay lakes. Great write-ups and some great recipes on there as well. If you guys are listening to this in your pay lake, the chap that did it for us was wonderful. There's some great recipes on there. You see, if you've got that plastic bead on that hook, Josh, that's what that is doing. That is causing, I would imagine, a little bit of buoyancy to the hook. So it's probably what we call neutrally buoyant with the plastic on there. So when they come down and they're taking that pack and they suck all of that in, right? That hook, which is neutrally buoyant, is going to go in there straight away.
Oh yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
they're after that pack, right? They're not starting off the day going, let's go and munch on a bunch of beads, guys, right? So
Oh no, for sure.
they're getting after that pack. And
Yeah,
because you've got that plastic on there, that's sucking that thing in, what they call a pickup, I believe.
yeah, yeah.
And that's the same thing with what a pop-up will do.
Oh yeah,
Pop-up will do as well. But the difference, and again, with pay lakes where they're probably getting the majority of their food actually from the anglers, as opposed to a wild water,
yeah,
right, where they can swim freely and they can say, yeah, I don't like this bait here, I'm gonna munch on these snails over here, I'm gonna munch on this bloodworm over there, type of thing. I think to really figure it out, you'd have to fish 2 different methods in the same location, and I know
oh, yeah.
I know anglers that have gone to pay lakes, good wild water anglers that have gone to pay lakes, nothing. Can't do it with a boilie and a hair rig on a pay lake type of thing. And the pay lakers have been schooling them left, right, and center. So I think there's a lot to be learned from both.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I mean, I pretty much only fish wild water now, and
Yeah,
I've tried the boilie method. Boilies can get expensive.
they can.
Like I said, I mean, just I've done so well on the pack bait with the bead, and I've done some videos where I kind of would throw in the same spot with hair rigs, with fake corn or tiger nuts. And just me personally, from where I've tested it, I
Mm,
saw no advantage where I
right,
tested. Uh,
right.
I've
It's
caught fish
I
in
tell
Lake
you
Michigan,
what I will tell
Bell
you.
Hollow.
What I will tell you is this: you have to be patient. You will get bites quicker with a pack bait or and a pay lake rig. You'll get it much quicker than with a boiler rig with boilies.
Yeah,
But once they suss it out, once they figure it out, the bigger fish you'll catch with the boilies. The
yeah,
bigger fish you'll get. But now, if it's about numbers, you'll get a bunch of smaller fish much quicker on a pack bait. And I've seen anglers, Josh, I've seen anglers go through that mental struggle that you're discussing. I've seen them go through it. I went through it. I've been through it myself.
yeah.
I've been through it myself. And then what changed for me is having, and obviously it depends upon the quality of the bait and where you're fishing it. But what changed for me was another session that I went that I was fishing with Eric, where all we were feeding were boilies, and they were literally there waiting the next day, jumping at the same spot, waiting the next
Yeah,
day, waiting the next day for it. And once you turn them onto it, you can still catch fish with, obviously you're going to catch fish with a piece of plastic or pack bait or something like that. But the larger ones, like the really larger specimens, they're not going to necessarily come in with all of the others anyway. With the younger ones, they may hang off to the sides. And so sticking a good bait off to the edge of where you're feeding will oftentimes pick up one of the larger, more mature.
Catfish Headhunter says he likes to add a can of spinach to his carp pack bait.
Yeah.
He said, that's the first on that one. Have you heard of anybody using spinach before? I've not heard that one yet.
No, the thing is, people can use. I mean, you can use everything.
Yeah,
You can use everything. There's people use a lot. I mean, think about it. They eat a lot. They eat a great deal of. They'll eat weed and sediment and that type of thing as well, which is obviously the same color. And because we're not a fish, we're not a carp. We don't know what they see. We don't know how they taste.
yeah.
Okay, or they're not going to smell in the same way that we do because they don't have a nasal passage. But they, there are. I mean, you hear of all of these different concoctions from anglers, and there are certain things that we do know scientifically about them, and there are certain things that again and again and again and again will get results. So our whole thing is experiment with whatever works. And when you do find,
I'll go as you know too. Fishing is a confidence thing. If you have confidence in what you're using, does it not seem like you do better than if you're on a whim?
It does, and that's the reason, Josh, why I said to you, I've seen anglers go through that struggle of used to catching a lot of fish, let's say with a pack bait, or what we call a method, which is basically breadcrumb and cream corn and stuff molded around a lead, with a hook bait quite close to the lead. I've seen anglers as close as last year struggling with it, going, I can't see a difference. And then just saying, to hell with it. I'm just going to go straight. I'm going to go with these, with these flavor. I'm going to go with these bottom baits. I'm not going to fish any pop up on it. I'm fishing a bottom bait on the bottom. And then when they start catching bigger fish, then their confidence goes from this to that.
Yeah.
But it takes some time. And it's like anything. It doesn't matter how good the bait is. If there's not a fish in front of it, it's not going to do you any bloody good. So a heavy lead, a sharp hook as well with a well-positioned bait is going to catch you fish better than the latest bait, because it's like anything. It's experience and understanding.
Yeah, for sure. Jareth wanted to know if you thought fruity flavors work better over natural fish or natural or fish flavors.
Personally, I've been, in my experience, you've got the negative you've got with using fish meals over here is you've got the catfish. Now we love catfish, but they love fish meal, fishy type stuff, as the other critters, crayfish and that type of thing as well. Also, you've got different temperatures at different times of the year, where certain oils will be released, let's say, from a bait in a different manner in the winter than through the summer. Fruity baits do work. They work really well. Our Asperberry cream flavor, which is our own flavor, is a very sweet, fruity smelling type thing. And then, at different times of the year, I would use a different bait. Like during the summertime, I would use I'd use our Asperberry cream for me as an angler during the summer. Bait works really well all year, but in the summer months, obviously also because of the color, it's a white, it's white, and it'll stand up really well against the dark background. And then the Mandala Gold is a complete opposite. It's a dark golden sort of orange color, which is a lot more savory tasting,
Yeah.
So, fruity baits definitely work. They do.
Yeah. I've used like monster crab flavoring and stuff like that, and I've done really well on it. And also, I actually have a flavor company called Get Bent Baits and Flavors, and fruity stuff works good too.
Yeah,
so.
fruity stuff works really well. But if you use monster crab, don't spill that sucker in your car. You will never get rid of the smell.
I'm gonna tell you right now, I can open that in the basement, and my wife will be yelling within a minute. Yeah. What do you got open down there?
Yeah, that stuff is wicked.
Oh yeah, and I've got a couple more questions here for you
Yeah.
from some chat members here. Jason, I can't pronounce his last name, so sorry, brother. But he says once you've done a boilie baiting campaign on a wild water spot, he says, do you fish single hook baits, pop ups over a bed of boilies, or totally alone?
Okay, it's a great question, Jason. So, in a wild water setting, once you make sure and you understand that your spot where you're fishing is clean and it's a good spot, to actually bait. There's not a bunch of junk on there. I will bait a little bit with some range cubes to start with, or some particle. Initially, very initially, to bring just a small handful to get the fish moving. Is what that actually does. Is it gets a smaller fish. It gets fish like catfish and bluegill and that type of thing, picking away, and it causes a commotion on the lake bed, which then brings in the attention of other fish coming in. And then single boilies, to either with a throwing stick or with a catapult or with a boat in a spot, maybe 15 or 20 of them in quite a close range. And then for me personally, to start with, I'll fish a pop-up on one and I'll fish a bottom bait on the other. When you when you have a good bait, when after they initially get on it, when all you do is you top up the swim with a few bottom baits from a catapult or throwing stick, and then you fish single bottom hook baits on the bottom, nothing else, cast into the same area, and they come and they take it and they take it and they take it. So once you've established your bait, a single hook bait on the bottom will, you'll pick them up again and again and again, because they look at it as a food source. Once they understand that it's a food source, it's free food for them. Then the game's over. So I don't like to bait with boilies and then start using a bunch of pop-ups and plastic and other stuff, because then you've got to get through the confidence of fishing single hook baits, or obviously use pop-ups if if you've got sediment on the bottom, chalky sediment and that type of thing. But when you can confidently just cast a single boilie to an area and pick up fish again and again and again, your confidence will completely change, because they know it's a food source at that point.
Team Fish Fighters wanted to know what your favorite boilies were. So, what's your favorite boilie?
You can't really ask me that question. It's not fair, because
He did.
I'm gonna tell you honestly. It's right now. It's our Astorberry Cream Barnaby's Revenge. I'll fish that anywhere, because that is actually when things change for me as an angler, in terms of the boilie thing. I'd used boilies before, and I'd caught well on them before. But my confidence didn't change really 100% until we fished the lake. We're fishing the lake in Arkansas, Eric, Joey, and myself, and it was just like I said, single hook baits, baiting with single hook baits, and then hook baits on the bottom, and then rods one after the other, going. Then there was a storm that rolled in. And I literally had to go and sleep in the back of my truck, because it was really, really big storm. And then a day later, at the same time, on the same line where I'd been baiting, they were waiting for it. They were waiting for it. And that's when it changed for me, confidence-wise, So for me, there's a lot of great bait out there. There's some good bait out there. As an American company, which is what we are, our whole philosophy is we do, I'm from England originally. I love what those guys over there do, but this is America. We do things, I wanted us to do things our way over here, with American products, with American made products and that type of thing.
Yeah, I actually had somebody get mad at me because I use bait casting reels from the UK.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they left me a comment saying that I would be banned over there or something because I use casting reels and get.
Well, it's over in the UK. Most people use what we call a fixed spool reel, but over in Germany and Spain, on the River Ebro, and a guy who's not with us anymore, Kurt Grabmeyer, who I believe was, I think he was from the Netherlands or somewhere like that. I don't know exactly where he was from. He used to fish with bait casters, on the Ebro and other places. Phenomenal angler. Used to fish in Romania and Lake Reduta. And, an angler like if you look at a good sea angler who really knows this stuff with a bait caster and a pendulum cast, they'll cast that thing 200 yards, which is no way in hell you'd ever get with a open face, fixed spool reel. So
everybody I meet says they throw it 200 or 300 yards.
well,
I can get a little over 100, and I feel like I'm
no. Anybody that it's so funny because when you really understand distance, you're with a new angler, and they're like, "Yeah, that was 80 yards." I'm like, "Dude, that didn't even hit 35."
I have some videos where I go to the football field and do some casting, and I feel like a lot of people have never been to a football field to know how far their stuff is actually going. A lot of people be like, I'm casting a 3-ounce lead with a 12-pound line, 180 yards. Well, that the line would break if you were to try and put in a 120-yard cast with 12-pound line to begin with.
Well, also it's important if you are using heavy leads that you use a shock leader.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's really important that you use a shock leader.
Yeah, if you don't, it's going to go flying off and hit somebody or cause some problems.
You don't want that.
Yeah, but let's see here. Catfish Headhunters, he said he just subscribed to your channel. He was talking about the monster crab for some catfish as well. Norm, just make sure you do not open that in your house or your wife will literally kick your butt, I'm sure.
Yep.
If she's like mine. So Jareth wanted to know, how important do you think distance is when casting?
Nothing.
Carp fishing. It's just certain places, in my opinion, Jareth, certain places you need distance, but 90% of the time you don't. So
90% of the time they're right under your rod tip.
Yeah.
They're right under your rod tip. So you don't need, in very, very rare occasions, if you're fishing a lake that is extremely shallow and has got a slow curve on it, like the one we were fishing in Arkansas was only 8 to 10 feet for a good 50 yards, then it started to drop down. So you need to fish wherever the fish are. And most of the times the fishing is structure, especially if you've got some structure on the bank side. In the evenings and dawn, the place you're going to pick up a fish is right in the margin, right by your feet.
Yeah, exactly.
They're going to come in.
I have a couple places that I fish where you need to hit, 80 to 100 yards, but most places you don't need nowhere near that,
Yeah. It just depends on where they are. And also it depends, for example, if you're fishing a place where they're used to being fished for, and most anglers are fishing at 60 yards, all things being even, they're going to be past that 60-yard mark in safety when all those leads are going in. They're going to be out, let's say a little bit further. So it's about really finding out where the fish are and then having the ability to put the bait where the fish are, wherever that is.
Let's see here. Carp Country Northwest wanted to know what the weirdest fish you ever caught on a boilie was. He said he caught a 5-inch rainbow trout that couldn't even get the boilie in his mouth.
Let me see. I caught a pike over in the UK on a boilie, and you want to talk about something crazy, and we use marker rods. Right, we use marker rods, which is basically you got a rod, you've got a heavy lead on the bottom with a float to determine the structure on the lake bed and also the depth that you're actually fishing. And I remember being in California with Wayne, which is where I used to live, and where he lives is actually moving out from. And we were fishing, and the laws in California are very, very restrictive, which is one of the reasons why I left. And I had a marker rod with just a lead and a float at distance, on a swim. And a ranger came by and asked what we were doing. And we were explaining the marker rod thing to him. And he said, "You got bait on there?" We're like, "No, it's just sitting there marking this is where we're going to cast our bait to." And check this out. As that happened, the float started doing this. and I looked at Wayne and he looked at me. We brought it in, and a trout had eaten the lead.
No way.
The trout had eaten the lead. But right where the ranger was there, and we're like, look, we got no bait on the hook, but the trout is probably because it was an old lead and it was shiny, right? The surface had come off, it's shiny. So what we think happened was the light was reflecting off the lead.
Yeah.
And we pulled in this bloody trout with no bait and no hook. So
that ranger's like, yeah, you boys ain't got no bait on there.
That's probably the dumbest fish I've ever come across in my entire life.
I'll tell you, that tops the list for the dumbest one.
Yeah, that's probably the dumbest fish I've ever come across. No bait and no hook, and it ended up on the bank. We threw it back. But...
Let go, buddy. Let go. Question: when you see carp feeding, you can see the bubbles and mud stir up. Is that a prime time to throw your bait out there? I think so myself, unless it's turtles. Sometimes turtles do the same stuff. What do you think, Sean?
Yeah, if you got a silty bottom and you got a whole bunch of bubbles coming up, that's when, I mean, they literally have their heads in the mud. They have their heads in the mud and they're feeding probably on bloodworm or something like that. So yeah, definitely cast a bait to them. But you're right, Josh. Sometimes they can be turtles. It looks exactly the same.
Oh,
it can look exactly the same with the turtles.
And you'll know shortly when you reel in.
Yeah, you will.
Or you don't reel in nothing because the turtle doesn't get it in his mouth. So.
Yeah.
But 334, we've been just talking about the American Carp Society and stuff. If you want to go back and watch from the beginning. JP, how you doing, brother? Let's see here. Let's see what other questions I got for you. Hey, how is the fishing out there in California for carp then? Is there a lot of big ones? Or?
There's a lot. There was. And yes, there are. I mean, I think the largest rod and line caught carp in the States that we know of, a 60 plus pound, came from California. There's a lot of big carp out there.
A 60?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Luis Montes called that. Yeah, there are some massive great fish out there. The problem that you have in California is the laws are so restrictive about fishing overnight and chumming, which is illegal, that you're literally, it's a hard job to be able to put on a decent campaign to find them. But yeah, there's some massive fish out there. There's some massive fish out here in Texas, obviously, where I'm from.
Oh yeah, that's on my bucket list right there, brother. I want to get down there before I die anyway.
I mean, there's 70 pound buffs swimming around out there.
That's what I'm looking for.
So. Yeah, there's some incredible fish. Eric Mabry caught 70 last year.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
that'd be a blast. But I have a lot of people that comment and stuff, typically that are from California, and they ask me questions about fishing it out there. And obviously, I'm in Indiana, and I'm sure it's quite a bit different.
It's like night and day, Josh. Wayne just traveled out here because Wayne has been living in California.
Yeah,
he's actually moving this year, and I think one of the main reasons why he's moving, he couldn't believe it, fishing out here in Texas. He's like, "How many rods can you fish?" I said, "As many as you want." He goes,
really?
"What do we?" Yeah. I mean, we fish 3, but you can fish 4 if you want. And how many? What do you do about chumming or baiting? You can do whatever you want. You can do whatever you want, and it's very freeing out here to go to a lake or a large body of water or wild water. Do some research, find out where the fish are, and put together a baiting campaign. And you could be out there in the wilderness. Nobody else will be around. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
So in California, could you use like a ball of pack bait? Would they consider that chumming?
If they were standing behind you, yeah. You got to be really discreet.
Okay.
Yeah, you got to be really, really discreet. It's. I mean, when we first fished Lake Paris in California, there's some big fish in there. We actually had the ranger of the entire lake, law enforcement. He was walking around the lake, He's checking up on everything, and he saw Wayne and I fishing, and he was a big bass fisherman, and he said, "What are you guys doing?" We said, "We're fishing for carp," and he kind of laughed, the whole thing. And one of the alarms went off. My rod, I think my right hand rod started going, so I said, "Come here." So I hooked in, pulled in, gave him the rod, said, "Here, play with that." And he was like, "Whoa, man, whoa!" He's used to catching bass, and I think it was probably a high teen male, and a high teen male carp, they go like a torpedo. So he was freaking out. He was loving it, and he brought it in and everything else, and then he started asking us what we were doing, and then we started telling him the problems with, the laws in California. The next day, he took us out on his Ranger boat, and he was baiting for us the next day. He's like, wow. Where do you want the bait? Where do you want the
awesome.
Bait? It was phenomenal. He's such a cool guy. Yeah, he was totally hooked. He's like, "Don't worry about it. Just tell me where you want." I'm standing at the shore. I'm like, "I left a bit. Yeah, just drop it there."
Next to the trout hole with the marker float.
But you have to, you have to be careful out there. It's not as free as it is in some other states for fishing,
Yeah, well, I reckon in California they're a lot stricter on a lot of things.
They are, yeah.
Other than just fishing,
Yeah.
So, did you like it out there though? I don't think I'll ever go to California.
You know what? When I went out, Josh, and when Wayne went out there, it was an incredible time because we both went out as professional musicians. And it was amazing. It was incredible. It was in the late 80s, early 90s. It was just an incredible experience. But for me, it got to a point where I was like, I've done all of this. I didn't, it wasn't really my thing anymore. I'd got to the level that I wanted to get to with my music career, where I was like, I've seen it all to the highest level, and I don't really like what I see, and it's not going to be fulfilling for me. It's great. I remember being on stage in New York, and I was like 21 at the time. And I turned around and I kind of had this out of body experience. I was looking at my singer. He's a very famous guy. And he's doing all of this. And I turned around and I kind of went, as I was playing this song, I was like, yeah, that's not cool. At your age, it's not cool, dude.
Well, Sean, weird. I feel stupid here. So what band were you in, man? I mean, I didn't know you were a professional musician or anything.
No, I came over to study jazz originally. And then a buddy of mine, actually a student of mine and a good friend, Rowan Robertson, he got the gig with the singer from Black Sabbath, Ronnie James Dio. So he was Ronnie's guitar player. And then because of that, my status was elevated type of thing. And I ended up playing with the band Quiet Riot. I played with them for a couple of years when they were reforming and all that type of deal. Man. Yeah. So I was really lucky. I got, I have some incredible stories and some incredible memories,
Oh, I bet, yeah.
But it wasn't for me long term. The lifestyle and everything. I'm not a big drinker. I'd be drinking milk, and everybody else would be.
Me too, brother. I don't. Yeah. I'll take a drink once a year. I don't. Maybe if I'm at family or something.
That's kind of how I am.
Whatever, and I'm like, oh my goodness. Yeah.
I had the same thing out here. I'd go to when I had my Harley. I'd go to a Harley bar. A biker bar out here, and I'd have a bloody great glass of milk, with my leathers and everything. And people are coming up and go, "What you got in there, vodka?" I'm like, "No, it's just milk. Do you want some?"
I work for cyclesolutions.com, so if you need some Harley parts, hit me up, brother.
No, I sold that a number of years ago. I sold it.
Gotcha.
Guy in Berlin bought it, actually.
Gotcha. They get too expensive anyway. But let's see here. Sean wanted to know if you've ever fished in Ohio. He said he knows Kelsey Combs.
Yeah, Kelsey's phenomenal. She's doing public relations and media for us. Wonderful, great energy, wonderful lady. No, I haven't fished in Ohio. It's one of the states that I haven't fished in. Wayne and I traveled quite a lot in the 2000s. Traveled through it a number of times, but wasn't able to stop and fish it because we were always going to another destination at the time. Yeah, but it's got some beautiful water, out there.
Yeah, it does. I know there's a lot of good, healthy carp fishing spots in Ohio. I live in Indiana, and I fish a couple. They're really just public parks over there
Mhm.
that don't require a fishing license if you're from out of state.
Mhm.
And it's amazing. One guy, I guess the guy that did it, I think he passed away, somebody said, but he put a bunch of the UK kind of mirrors in a public park over there,
Mhm.
and he documented them. He like grew them in his fish tank and put them in,
Oh,
and
awesome.
oh, amazing! I mean, you're talking some amazing fish, Sean. You'd have to see them. They're for our area to catch 25 and 30-pound mirrors that are
Oh,
just
anywhere.
and they're not the long ones like over here. They're like super short, and then
Short
they're
and
like that.
oh, yeah,
What I mean? Yeah.
yeah,
So just beautiful fish.
yeah. It's not the size. It's the. I mean, I'd take a 7 pound, 10 pound mirror over a mid 20 common any day. I mean, because I've been lucky enough to catch so many of them and stuff. It's
Yeah.
a really unique looking mirror. They're just beautiful.
Yeah. And you say you're from the UK, right? Did you fish over there a lot too
Oh, a
then, or
ton,
no?
a bunch. But
So
when
over
but
there
when
it's mainly mirrors,
it
correct?
is mainly
Compared to the
mirrors.
common?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is mainly mirrors. But when I was fishing over there, we were fishing. It was right as the carp fishing thing was really kind of taken off. So when I was really fishing over there, would have been in the early to mid '80s,
Okay.
early to mid '80s, and at that point in time, it was a real. The carp thing was not something that a kid of my age would ever get involved with because it was just those are the big, the older guys type of thing. So we were fishing for silverfish in the rivers, roach, rudd, bream, tench, and carp, but just smaller ones. But not
Yeah.
with hair rigs and boilies back then. It was we'd use cat food on a hook. Carp love cat food because it's obviously the
Yeah.
fish and stuff in it. So we did a lot of fishing with really light tackle float fishing, which is still one of my favorite ways to catch carp too, which is with a European float setup, literally 10 yards out, right under your rod, and you hook into even a 10 or a 15 pounder with 8 pound line right under your rod with a 1.5 pound test curve rod, and water explodes. There's nothing like it, even with a center pin reel, So we did a
Yeah.
lot of float fishing over in Europe. So did Wayne. And but did more of the bottom bait leads on the bottom Euro style actually over here in the
Yeah.
States.
Any fishing with Carl and Alex over there?
No, yeah, well, Carl and Alex just did an interview with Austin and Brendan Pass, and they went over
Okay.
to Europe, did a
Yeah.
wonderful podcast with them. Great guys, great advocates for the sport. And then Carl and Alex came over here. They fished Dale Hollow, and they had an incredible time, from what I can tell.
Yeah, I really enjoy their stuff. They're just the way they put their videos together. It's probably the
Oh yeah,
best quality. It's like watching a movie,
yeah.
So
Well, they've got
really enjoy
wonderful
their channel.
personalities. They're very real. They've been doing it for a long time as well.
Yeah.
And they've got a great sense of humor too. Austin and Brendan do. I mean, I was having a riot with him on the podcast. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. And Carp Country wanted to know ice carping. You ever do ice carping or anything like
I
that?
haven't, but there are a couple in the American Carper publication, Volume 3, which was a couple of years ago. Andrew Walker, I believe, had a phenomenal piece on ice fishing form, and the colors too in his piece. And I apologize if I got the name wrong. There's a couple of issues back. The colors were absolutely stunning because the ice is almost bluey color, and then you got a picture of the gold in the on the scales of the common against the bluey sort of white ice was just stunning. Absolutely. No, I haven't done it. I'm a bit of a wimp. I don't think I'd be out there, and if there's ice on the water, I think I'd probably be at home in front of the fire or something.
He's in Texas. He's used to that
Yeah,
70,
well,
80 degree stuff.
well, a couple of weeks ago, brother, we had the Arctic roll in here, and everything froze.
We get it for 3 months though.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, I know you guys did have it bad. And
Oh,
if you're in a place that's not used to that,
oh,
that can be really deadly even,
tell me
So,
about it. We didn't have power for a couple of days.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole state shut down. It was pathetic. you know.
Yeah. Like I said, I know if you're not used to it, like Texas, many years ago, I had a kind of a job offer down there, which I should have took. But I remember he was telling me they would cook out on Christmas Day.
Oh
They
yeah,
would have a cookout and
yeah,
everything.
yeah.
So if you don't see it, I guess every 9 months, it could be rough
Well, when it
because you're
comes to
not equipped. I mean, they
when it,
don't have the proper equipment or
that's
anything to
right.
take care of it down
There's
there.
no snow plows. There's no nothing of that. And I mean, when this rolled in a couple of weeks ago, I mean, it was brutal. People died. I mean, houses. There was the grid couldn't handle it. It was, it was bad. But
Yeah. Steve wanted to know if you thought the larger carp schooled together or
no,
run by themselves.
no, they run by themselves. And except, if you had certain times of the year, like in the winter time, if the water's really cold and you've got some other water coming in, or you've got a warm water outlet, then they'll all huddle at that point. But in general, the larger ones usually twos, threes, sometimes on their own, but they don't. It's like us, when you get older. When you get older, the younger you would be a little bit more annoying to you. So
I never thought of it like that,
yeah,
but
it's kind of what it is, and you'll find too when they're feeding. Like I said earlier on, if you've got a bunch of fish feeding, especially if you're using a pack bait or something like that, and you're casting to the same area. So what you're doing is you're kind of ringing the dinner bell. Like those younger fish will be in there. Those younger fish will be in there. Well, the smarter, wiser ones, some of them will hold back, and so many times you'll get the bigger fish if you cast your bait off to the side of where you're baiting. You cast your hook bait off to the side, you'll pick the bigger fish up.
I want to see if we're kind of on the same boat with this, because I get people that ask me all the time what the secret to catching big fish is. What I always say is fish a place that has big fish, because there are a lot of lakes that just don't have the genetics and they don't have big fish in them.
You also, it's very true. You also, I did an interview with Al Sincere, who's a phenomenally gifted natural angler. Took the Texas state record and that type of thing. And actually, he was the first angler to really introduce me to boilies years and years ago. The real key to catching big fish is a lot of work and patience. And you got to understand, you have to put a lot of work into your watercraft. You got to understand where they are, where they feed, because they're not necessarily going to feed. But the bottom line is, Josh, like you said, they've got to be in there. That's the first thing. But if you haven't seen them, there's a lot of work that you can do to determine if they are in there or not. The average size of the fish that are in there, the food source, and that type of thing. But there's a lot of work that goes in. There's a lot of time spent. It can be a lot of time spent at the water without a rod in your hand. That can be the best time you invest, is by spending some time at the water at dawn or dusk with a pair of binoculars up a tree, something like that. And putting your work in researching.
Yeah, for sure. So is there anything else you'd like to say about the American Carp Society?
Well,
you might want people to know.
Yeah, we're really, anybody that has a passion for carp angling in the United States, there's a place for you at the American Carp Society. We have fly anglers. If you have the same philosophies on fish care and that type of thing, we have incredible members all over the country, and it's about being a part of something that's just bigger than yourself. So there's a lot that we're doing. We worked with state governing bodies before. There's a lot that we're doing behind the scenes that won't be public probably for about 6 months to a year to help the fish and the future of the fish. And the more support that we get from members across the United States, the more we can actually do. Everything so that you guys know, everything that comes in goes straight back out. And is reinvested into the company for the benefit of the fish. So this is something that we have a huge love for and a passion for. These species are incredible. And the more that we can do to help other anglers get involved in it, the better. Because there's nothing like seeing that angler for the first time catching a carp, whether it be on a fly or any other thing, and then they're converted. And then you've left a mark, you've made an impact, that type of thing. So
Yeah. And I know we kind of talked about pay lake fishing um, previously,
Mm,
and I know you said that like the American Carp Society, it's all about fish care.
it is.
And, some places look down on it, and like I'm with you. I think that just to see anybody in the sport of carp fishing is a great thing. You know what I
Mm,
mean? I
yeah.
grew up pay laking, and I think it's really just about taking care of the fish, not kicking them back in and
It's taking
beating them
care of
off
the
of rocks. And
care and taking care of the resources, man. You know,
yeah,
because if you don't take care of them, they're not going to be there for you to catch again. It's kind of common sense, you know.
exactly.
And so, and everybody, everybody, we can all do better. Every one of us can do better in some way, in somehow to do one thing. So, that's the challenge
Yeah,
that we put out there is do everything that you can, help other anglers, educate other anglers. You can't jump down their throat if they're doing something that they're doing something that you don't agree with. You can't jump down their throat about it. You've got to help educate them and give them the opportunity to be a man about it and do the right thing. Now, if they don't, then you cut bait and you move on.
yeah,
But give everybody the opportunity to encourage them, because I've found, and Wayne and I specifically, we've noticed over the years that if you show somebody some kindness and some compassion and some understanding, and you know what you're talking about too, they'll listen to you. If you don't know
yeah,
what you're talking about, then it doesn't matter. But if you do, if you understand the subject, you're an expert in the subject, then you can help them and maybe help them, encourage them to help somebody else. That's what happened to me. I've had a ton of people help me in my life,
yeah,
and I wouldn't have been able to do anything that I've done without any of them. So you got to do the same thing.
yeah.
You
I
got to,
think they
after a
say
point,
what.
after a point in time, you got to take off the bib and you got to put on the serving gig. Does that
Gotcha.
make
I,
sense?
wa- I was gonna say, I think you catch more bees with honey, right?
Yes,
Isn't that
you
what
do,
they
brother.
say?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think that's what they say. Now, some of them you just ain't gonna catch no matter
It
how
don't
you.
matter. But look, you know what? You got to give it a shot. You got to give it a try. At least you can say you can try. Because the worst thing is turn around and going, you know what? What if I'd handled that a bit differently, or what if I'd helped that guy a bit more?
Yeah,
And because it's those it's those times, when you got maybe try a bit harder. You have to get it to a point where you're just like, well, whatever, but
yeah,
do all you can, because you're not doing it for you. You're not doing it for him. You're doing it for the fish. You're doing it for the
yeah,
fish. So, it's because it's all about the fish. Fish is the most
yeah.
important thing.
I totally agree with you on that. And like a lot of people don't realize that, at least in my area, the fish that are actually in pay lakes were originally going to be killed and used for food anyway.
Yeah.
They're caught, and instead of being sold for food, pay lakes buy some of them. So
Mhm.
they're kind of getting rehomed in a sort of fashion. You know what I mean? So they're kind of getting a second chance. I do, like I said, as long as people are doing it properly. I mean, really in the UK, I mean, a lot of their venues are kind of like a pay lake, but not really like
They
a pay
are.
lake.
Yeah, they are, in terms of the fish are bred to actually go in there in their court. But over in the UK, you know, they're treated like pets. I mean, they have names, for
Oh
God's
yeah,
sake. So, and
yeah.
and the fish care is exemplary.
Oh
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
is exemplary. So, that I think is probably just the main difference. And anybody that's carp angling, it's a good thing. But we see the same thing over in Europe. I think one of the negative things is if you have people taking fish from wild areas, to charge money for in their own,
Yeah,
that they weren't going to be cat food type of thing, or they're taking
yeah,
trophy fish. That's not cool.
yeah,
That's not cool. But
yeah,
any resource obviously that's utilized and used, I'm sure that fish would rather be in a pay lake than rather be cat food, if it was going to go that direction.
yeah, yeah. I'm not sure what kind of food they're for, but I know that I've been told that originally they were on their way to be used for some type of food of some sort. I don't
Mm,
know if it's people food or dog food or cat food or what, but
who knows?
um, yeah, as you know, they get kind of a bad rap over here. So,
That's
but
changing though.
let's see
That's
here. Yeah,
changing.
for sure, for sure. I know I'm
Younger
doing my
generations,
best.
the younger generations, Josh, I got to tell you, coming in, these younger guys coming in, especially the fly anglers, you know, there's no trash fish thing about it at all. And they're just like, look, this is cool. They're big, mean fish, and you know, they're bloody hard to catch. You know, especially from a fly angler's perspective. Every single fly angler that I've spoken to and interviewed over the years has said the same thing. Initially, I didn't know, and I thought, oh, I'll give it a go. And then I tried, and I blanked, and I tried, and I blanked, and I got humbled, and I couldn't catch them. And then it became a challenge, because they'll make you a better fly angler, hands down, than any other species.
And the one thing I always try to do is, if I'm out fishing and there's people there and they're talking to me or anything like that, if I get a fish on, I always try to let somebody else reel it in. I think that gets people hooked on it too, you know?
Yeah, it does.
Especially kids. They love it.
Yeah, you think for a kid, for a youngster, a 10-pound fish is a bloody monster.
Oh, it is. You can they go crazy.
It will never, I mean, if you give a youngster a rod with a 10, 15-pound carp on, and they experience that, you know, things are going to change for them at a young age. They're going to want to catch them.
Oh, yeah. I've seen many of them. They get so excited, and they're holding it, and their mom's getting their picture or whatever. Yeah, it's a blast. So they're definitely hooked if they can get their parents to take them back out, you know. That's the beauty about being a kid. You can do something, and you can really get hooked on it quick and easy, you know.
Yeah.
Something they remember. Well, Sean, I appreciate you coming on tonight, brother.
Thank you for having me, Josh. I appreciate giving the opportunity to talk about something that we're really passionate about. As I said, we have incredible members all over the United States, and if anybody has a passion for the fish, for carp, then you know, the American Carp Society, we're doing all that we can. We need as much help as we can get, obviously, as well.
Yeah, I pinned a link to the American Carp Society or AmericanCarpSociety.com to the website in the live chat there. So if anybody wants to check it out, make sure you guys check it out. It seems like a worthy cause to me. I know I'm a CAG member. I don't know for how much longer. So we may convert over within the next year or so when that runs out, and see how we like it over there, Sean. And before we go, somebody had a couple questions here. If you're up for answering them, somebody had a couple questions.
Yeah.
Somebody wanted to know about finding bigger fish in rivers.
Well, the challenge you got in a river, they can swim. You know, I mean, they can swim. I mean, you've got that in a big lake, but even in a large lake, you've got certain areas where they'll probably, you know, they can hang around and that type of thing. I was watching a film about this the other day. I mean, there's been over in the UK, there's fish that have traveled 22 miles. They've been caught 22 miles apart within the space of a week.
Wow.
Yeah. In the river, in the canal system and stuff there. So again, I would say the same. You approach it the same way as you would a lake too. You got to pick your spots, understand the holding areas for them, and baiting. You know, baiting an area, the same area again and again and again and again and again, and fishing it again and again and again. You'll eventually, all of the fish within a certain distance, that's their home stretch. You'll end up, and then you got to try different stretches. You got to move, and you know, keep your eyes open, get yourself a pair of good Polaroids in the summer, and spend some time seeing if you can find them. Because once you spot them, when you know where they are, then you can fish for them.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
Jareth said that you guys need some bigger beanies. He said his didn't fit. Maybe he needs a smaller head. What do you think?
I wasn't going to say that. No, we're going to have the beanies that we have. The beanies that we have are kind of, you know, they're one size fits all. And the membership beanies are probably a little more snug fitting than the custom ones that we have. We have to get more. We're completely sold out of beanies and caps and stuff at the moment. So we will be getting some more in for those of us with larger noggins, right? So with those with larger heads. So we'll look into that.
Awesome. Well, like I said, Sean, I appreciate you coming on. If you would, just I'll backstage you, and then once I end the stream, if you could give me a minute, I'll come back and talk to you for a second. Okay, brother?
Thank you, Josh.
I appreciate you.
Thanks, everyone. Cheers.
Guys, I appreciate each and every one of you watching. If you haven't yet, make sure you hit that like button. Go check out their YouTube channel. It's the American Carp Society. And if If you guys enjoyed the show tonight, like I said, hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one. Peace out, guys.